Hi, everybody. Today we are studying Chapter 5, which is all about entrepreneurs and having an entrepreneur mindset. Okay? An entrepreneur is somebody who creates and runs his or her own business. Just a little bit of statistics about people who are entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur, sorry, it's kind of a tongue twister. Entrepreneur can be a very challenging task. A lot of times people might think of, oh man, I would love to start my own business and be my own boss. Okay, I get to do something creative that I love to do, and I can basically run the company however I want to. But it's actually a very difficult thing. People don't always realize how challenging it is to be an entrepreneur. In fact, new businesses, they're called startups, right? Startup businesses actually have a pretty high failure rate. In fact, 20% of new businesses actually fail during the first 2 years of being open. On top of that, 45% of new businesses fail during the first 5 years, and 65% of new businesses fail during the first 10 years. So startups, actually, it's pretty rare for them to last super long. In fact, only about 25% of new businesses actually make it longer than 15 years. By the way, I apologize if you hear my daughter crying in the background. It's almost her bedtime and she's probably pretty hungry. So sorry if you hear that. We're just going to continue through it. Only about 25% of new businesses make it longer than 15 years, which is really a pretty low number. Yeah, and it's actually kind of surprising because most of the time, if you're starting up a business, there's a lot of planning that goes into it. A lot of research, a lot of investing, a whole lot of planning. So to have it all fail after just a couple of years really can be kind of a letdown in a way. Okay. Now, entrepreneurial thinking is the process of starting a new business. Okay. Now, the entrepreneurial process, I don't know why I'm struggling so much with that word right now. Basically, there's 5 steps to this entrepreneurial process. Okay. The first step is discovery. This is where they're identifying and evaluating business opportunities. So they're doing research, right? They're looking out there, trying to figure out is there a problem that they can solve by starting up a business. Okay, is there a need in the community or in the country or in the world that they feel like they can meet? Okay, once they have kind of discovered a plan or identified an opportunity, they're going to move on to step 2, which is developing a business plan. They're going to start developing their mission statement, their vision statement, developing goals and objectives for their startup. They're going to kind of calculate their capital requirements. So basically, how much money do they need in order to be able to start this business up? They're going to have a description of their products and services. So what is it they're going to be offering with this business? Okay, so they're going to be developing an in-depth business plan so that they can pitch their business to maybe investors or people that might want to get involved. Okay, once they do that, step 3 then is resourcing. This is actually finding investors, because to start up a business, it's actually really expensive. Very few people can just afford to finance a business on their own with the money that they have. Okay, so they may need to get loans from the bank. They may need to have other people come in and help invest in their business. Maybe they need to bring on a partner to also share the load as well. And then on top of that, they're also going to start hiring people. Maybe they need to hire a manager to help them run the business, or hire some employees to help them with day-to-day tasks. Okay, once they do that, step 4 then is managing the company. This is where they're just going to be executing the business operation. So what day-to-day things need to be done. Okay, and then last is harvesting. This is where they are determining the future of the business by analyzing its growth. So all entrepreneurs are always analyzing how their business is actually doing and how well it's growing. Is it growing at a satisfactory rate? Are they actually able to start making money eventually? Because probably for the first year or 2 at least, it's pretty much expected that new businesses are going to lose money because there's so many startup costs, and the money that they bring in usually doesn't outweigh their actual initial startup costs, but eventually the money they bring in will surpass their startup costs, so they'll eventually start making money. Okay, so they're going to be analyzing, is their growth happening at a reasonable rate? If it is, then they can keep going. If it's not, then maybe they need to think about, closing things off. Okay, and you'll notice that this is just like a continual loop. A lot of times if an entrepreneur is successful in one business, what they might do is they might use the profits from this business. They could sell it to somebody who might want to buy their company, right? So like if you think of YouTube back in the day was just a regular startup like a lot of other things, and they were actually bought by Google for, I want to say it was in the billions probably, I think. If not billions, probably millions, okay? Hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? But then once you sell your company, you can then use that money, and you can just keep it and retire a lot of times if you make enough, or you can invest that in a new startup that you have, okay? So what I want to do is kind of encourage you to be thinking like an entrepreneur. 3 ways that you can think like an entrepreneur are first, to observe. Look for chances to learn new skills and take on new responsibilities. You can do this at school, right? You can do things in the jobs that you're getting, maybe the summer jobs that you get. Look for chances to learn new skills and take on new responsibilities. Listen, pay attention to what others have to say, because listening is a key skill of entrepreneurs. It really helps them as they're relating to other people. And then think. Instead of complaining about a problem, analyze how you can overcome it, right? Because complaining and just getting sad about a problem that you have is never going to help. Always try and think critically about how you can overcome your problems and make the most of it. Now, I also want to talk about risks versus rewards. Entrepreneurs are always analyzing risks versus rewards. There is a lot of risk involved in starting up a new business as an entrepreneur. Okay, risk is the chance of danger or loss. Typically, when you think of risk with a startup, it's the chance of losing money, time, and energy. Okay, some more risks could be success or failure of the business rests on you, right? If you start up a company and it fails or it succeeds, it pretty much all the blame is on you as the entrepreneur. Okay, you have nobody to blame but yourself, because you're the one starting the business, and if it fails, well, that's on you. Same on the opposite end, if it succeeds, well, a lot of that's probably because of your good planning. Another risk is that you could accrue debt, right? If your startup fails, okay, and your business ends up still owing money, well, that gets put on you. You ended up owing that money as well. Okay, so that debt goes to you. You also might lose the trust of your investors, right? People who invest in you, they might not, want to invest with you in the future if you show signs of incompetence or your business savvy isn't really up to par. Another risk is that you could lose self-confidence. Maybe you lose confidence in yourself and your ability to lead. It's a high stress situation, right? Because you are working, you're putting all this time and effort into this business, and you don't want it to fail. You're doing everything you can to get it to succeed, so that's a pretty highly stressful situation. Another risk is that it's a pretty unreliable income, right? Like I said earlier, your startups typically don't make a whole lot of money the first couple of years that you started up, which means that your income is going to be pretty unreliable. There might be some months where you make some money, but there also might be some months where you don't get paid, because all of your money is going into this business, helping it to succeed in the long run, which means in the short run, you might have to make some sacrifices, and some of those sacrifices might be your own personal salary. Okay? And then also there's long hours especially when you're first starting the business, you have to put so much time and effort into it that it could be long hours for you as the person that's starting it up, because a lot of times when you're first starting it up, you might be the only employee, which means that you have to do everything in your power to get your company to succeed, and you're doing a lot of the work. Okay. Now, like I did say, there's a lot of risks involved with creating your own business, starting your own business, but there's also a lot of rewards as well. Some of those are just really pride and satisfaction of starting and growing a business, right? Like if you start a business, something that you're passionate about, that you're really interested in, and it succeeds, like there's just so much pride and satisfaction that you're going to feel because of that. knowing that you started something from scratch and is successful because of you and the decisions that you've made. Also, there's a lot of freedom and independence. Like if you start up your own business, you get to start, you're basically your own boss. You get to decide your hours. You get to decide, what you do every day. You get to decide the rules of your business. You get to decide your schedule, your location, right? Where's your business located? You get to decide all that. You get to decide how and when you get paid. Now, a lot of that depends also on how, like I said, how profitable your business is, but you get to kind of have a lot of freedom and independence to decide how and when you want to work, which is really pretty nice. Nobody tells you what to do. You do it yourself. Another reward is it allows you to make a difference in your community and the world, right? Like you can really decide how you're going to impact the world. If you see a need that needs to be filled, you have the satisfaction of being able to fill that need, okay, and making a difference in your community and the world. And then it also has the potential to be very profitable. Like if it's a successful startup, there's going to be people that are going to want to come and buy your company, and they might buy your company for potentially millions of dollars, right? Depending on how well your business is doing, right? Like I said, YouTube, I want to say they made millions and millions of dollars when they sold it to Google, potentially even billions. I can't remember the exact amount, but they made a lot of money when they sold YouTube to Google, right? So there's a potential for a lot of money to be made from starting your own business if you decide to sell it or even keep it, right? So that's our lesson for today. Your assignment is the discussion question called Entrepreneurs on Canvas. You're going to think of your favorite brand or company that you like to use. Who was the entrepreneur that started the company, and when did he or she start it? And then was this his or her first business, or did they attempt to start other businesses before then? Remember, I said there's a high failure rate with new businesses. So a lot of times entrepreneurs will try over and over and over again to start a new business, and a lot of times the second or third try, a lot of times is when they find their success. So was this person, was it their first business attempt at starting a new business, or did they attempt previous businesses before, maybe that failed, and help them learn new things? Okay. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know on Canvas or send me an email. I'll be happy to help. Have a good day.